Hello everybody and welcome back to our second block build for the Sisters of Eternal Mercy from Raging Heroes. And this time, John, sick of painting white as you were, we decided to mix things up massively.
Yeah.
By putting together a, I'm going to say, aggressive 1,000 points.
Yeah, this is definitely the more fanatical side of the force, I think, for sure. Particularly with some of the most dramatic bike models I have ever seen.
Yes.
All they need to be doing is I should have glued them on the bases, all popping wheelies.
Popping wheelies across the board.
Yeah,
that would have been the way to go. We have, I'll start off with the boring part.
Okay.
We have another set of pistoliers. So the karate, flying seraphim ladies. So we have another 5 of those. So that's another fast attack option, but can also be combined with the previous blocks to make a big 10-man unit. And they are regular sisters, but after that we go somewhat fanatical.
Yeah.
So we'll start with the bikers, I suppose.
May as well, yeah.
The Hell Riders, the Hell Rider daughters of the God Queen.
It's an amazing name.
It is. It's fantastic names. So this is 2 units of 3 bikers. That's quite nice because they come in 3s, and the list has them in 3s. So I didn't even have to think. I have to think for some of the other things, but not for this. And that gives us more fast attack, but this time with a lot of close combat attacks. There is a variant biker in one-page rules that's shooty. I didn't really think that they needed the shooty. They certainly look like they're much more aggressive and fanatical and all about getting in there and doing the Lord's own work, whatever Lord that happens to be.
Yep.
So they've got heavy chain swords with fast and impact 1 and fearless and furious. So if they roll 6s, they get to roll additional attacks and all sorts. But they will generally upset somebody's day from distance. All about the distance. Then we have more fanatics, but this time having to hoof it. So it's actually 2 5-man squads of
Davidians.
Davidians, yes. So these are our fanatical models. Your sister Repentia.
Yep.
If you're still chugging along with 40k.
These are Repentia with far more style. They remind me more of the older school Repentia.
Yeah. They've got a mix of, they're still wearing the sort of armoured leggings and stuff so they can sink the boot into people on the battlefield. But then mostly made up of massive chainswords and cowling and looking particularly vicious.
Yep.
And again, 2 5-man units that can be deployed separately or linked because they're the same into a 10-man blob of death and destruction for anybody who wants to go anywhere near them. And they will remove most things from objectives. Anybody attempting to take and hold an objective, you just throw them at it and don't worry about the fact that they're not going to walk away at the end of it because they will just do all the damage. There is a hero model, not actually technically a hero. So Rathalia in the Epitrix.
You're loving these names.
I'm absolutely adoring these names. There is an option to upgrade one of your fanatics with twin whips, and there's a variety of levels of whip from sort of electro scourges to shock whips to plasma whips at various prices from free. So free upgrade if you just want the very base to like a 5-point upgrade for plasma whips or force whips to do additional damage. So she becomes an option for them rather than a hero to lead them. So if you need to free up 5 points, she can just drop out. If you've got 5 points spare, bung her in and get a few extra attacks at a bit of a higher sort of armor piercing rating.
Yep.
And then we have the lovely penitent engines, which are machines of prodigy from Raging Heroes.
Is that what they're called? I thought they were war pulpits.
There is a war pulpit as well.
Oh, is it like a more...
It's a more ornate, charactery one, but just when you want to get down and dirty with people, you get the machines of prodigy out, strap a couple of sisters who have been a bit lax in their mercy of eternalness.
And sing Firestarter while you're doing it.
And sing Firestarter and send them on their way. And again, keeping that fanatical feel. There's a couple of different walkers. There could have been assault walkers, there could be support walkers, more or less identical stat lines.
Yeah.
But one of them has Furious. So when they get stuck in, they get additional bonus rerolls on their attacks. And then the other one has, I want to say it's Relentless, which is a bonus to shooting. So one's more shooty, one's more punchy. They both have guns and punch. I went with punchy because this feels just fanatical. This whole chunk.
Block is very close combat oriented.
Very close combat. So they can, we still have the option of one with a heavy flamer and one with a heavy machine gun. Although, I mean, that weapon could possibly be a fusion launcher as well.
Yeah.
And then they've got a big rippy fist. So they can still do a bit of shooting on the way up the battlefield. But I think having nearly 500 points worth of relentless nuttery coming at you strapped to the front of a war walker will, you know, it'll give people pause for thought. It worked. It worked in the Matrix films.
Right enough, yeah.
Yeah. You know, the
APUs.
the robots went in and then they seen these standing on a bridge going, ah! And they went, you know what, we're just going to fly back a bit. That's how I remember that happening. And lastly, we have a, I'm going to say she can be used as a psyker, or she can be used as...
Fit in a fair few roles.
Yeah, she can be used as an upgrade. There is an upgrade for, let me get this, a canticle megaphone. And she does look like she's carrying some sort of unusual organage on her back, or it could be just an icon. I have to say, I absolutely love that.
Yeah.
It's like the Pope has decided to wear the Vatican.
The whole Vatican
on their shoulders. So there are rules for psychers, and like in one-page rules. So depending on what you want to do, she can be dropped in as well, or can be used as a sister with their blind faith, because they have their own sort of ecclesiastical faith rules where heroes can G up people for combat, giving things like +3 inches of additional movement, or +1 when shooting, or +1 in melee, or enemies get -1 to hit them in melee. So having leaders who can sort of chant the canticles of faith over a wide area and let people know they're coming is good. And for a very aggressive force like this, potentially attaching her as a hero to the fanatics and pushing them up the board, your opponent gets less hits going in, and then you can really churn through them. Or if you need to run them onto an objective very quickly, or run them into somebody very quickly, the extra 3 inches of movement will certainly catch a lot of people out. But there we go. That's
a very surprisingly mobile block.
Yeah, very fast, very punchy. This block is not going to sit back and secure an objective. This block is not going to sit behind a wall and shoot people off. Some of them, they might have a punt at it, but I think really what you want here is mobile and aggressive actions.
Yep.
Make the enemy move to your tempo. It's all about tempo. We learned that from Godfather. Tempo, tempo, tempo.
Tempo, tempo, tempo.
So, like I say, this came in about 1,100-ish points. Our first block was about 900-ish points. So combined, that's 2,000 point army right off the bat.
Yep.
That's enough to get you going and give you a real flavour of all the options that are available out there when running the Sisters of Eternal Mercy as either Sisters of Battle or Battle Sisters for one-page rules.
Yeah. Before we wrap up as well, in the 3CU for this block as well, we painted a Davidian, and instead of what we mentioned in block 1 was using an airbrush, and if you didn't have an airbrush, we layered up dry brushing on the Davidians instead of using an airbrush, just to show that different, what the result was.
The technique and how the results vary, I suppose also for them, there's a lot less armour on them, so you're going to be burning a lot of time with an airbrush just to do the lower legs. Yeah, and the airbrush also, well, the airbrush and the dry brushing both work towards the skin tone, because there's a fair amount of skin on the Davidians. But because, again, we're only going with contrast paint for the skin, even doing that shading anyway, be it airbrush or dry brushing, works. Yeah, it made them look a little more rough because of the dry brushing instead of the smooth gradients you're getting off the airbrush. It makes them look a bit rougher, kind of leans into that sort of more fanatical kind of look. Down and dirty, gritty.
Yeah,
lunatics with a massive double-handed chainsword. There you go. But there we are. Have it. Our block 2 our fanatical units are ready to take the tabletop. Let us know what you think below, and what we should or should not be doing, or what we should be thinking about for one-page rules. Because this is very freeform and experimental, as we'll find out when we get to the end of this and I play a game with them.
Yeah.
But yeah, until next time, folks, check out the other videos and take care. Bye-bye.